Hello and welcome to this session. This is Professor Farhad. In this session, we're going to look at how to get rid of an asset, disposal of a plant asset. Well, when company are done with their plant asset, they can basically retire them, basically get rid of them, scrap them or discard them. They can sell them and get some money. Hopefully, they can get some money, or they can exchange them for a new asset. So those are the options. In this session, we're going to look at retirement and sale. In another session, we might look at exchange. So what are the steps that you need to do? The step one, you need to record depreciation up to the date of disposal. Make sure your depreciation up to date. Now you might be saying, why? In step one, that's important because depreciation gives you the new book value, gives you the most recent book value, and you will see why in a moment. Eliminate the asset by debiting accumulated depreciation and crediting the asset. So when we remove the asset, we're going to credit the asset, whatever that asset is, and we're going to debit accumulated depreciation. So accumulated depreciation takes a debit, the asset itself takes a credit to remove the asset. Then we have to determine if we have a gain or a loss. So we're going to determine this. Then if no cash is received, then that's it. We have no cash is received. So we're going to debit the asset for the original cost. So how much do we, credit the asset, whatever the asset is, we're going to credit the asset at its original cost. Okay? We're going to debit accumulated depreciation for the full amount of depreciation taken over the life of the asset. So this is just, okay, we're going to credit the asset and debit accumulated depreciation. Okay, so no cash is received means you did not get anything for your asset. Let's take a look at an example. H Enterprise retires its computer printer, which cost 32 with accumulated depreciation of 32. So if we have an asset with a cost of 32 minus accumulated depreciation, that's equal to 0. This is the book value. So the book value of the asset that we are getting rid of is 0. Simply put, we did not receive cash. So here's what happened. We debit accumulated depreciation, credit the equipment. No cash is received. We have no cash is paid. We have no gain, no loss. And this is how we get rid of an asset that's fully depreciated. Okay? What happened if the asset, it's a fully depreciated plant asset still useful? Excellent. Okay, we just keep on using it. Who cares? We have a book value of 0. Let's take a look at another situation. Sunset Company discards delivery equipment that cost $18,000. So the asset itself has a cost, original cost of $18,000, accumulated depreciation of 14. So this is the accumulated depreciation 14. What does that give us? 18 minus 14. 18 minus 14 will give us a book value of this asset of 4,000. Well, we got rid of it. We got rid of an asset that's, so what do we have to do to get rid of the asset? Well, what we have to do is we have to credit the asset 18,000 to get rid of it, and we have to debit accumulated depreciation 14,000. So we debit accumulated depreciation, credit the asset 14,000 and 18. Now what's going to happen is this. We're going to have a difference of 4,000. We're going to have a difference of 4,000. What do we call this difference? We call this difference a loss. Why is it a loss? Because you got rid of an asset, you removed an asset that's still worth for you 4,000 and you get nothing for it. Because you got nothing for it, it's a loss. Losses are like expenses. Losses, they take a debit. Losses are like expenses, they take a debit. What's the difference between a loss and an expense? An expense is something that you incur as your regular business to operate your business. Losses are incidental to the business. So they happen every once in a while. Every once in a while, you may get rid of an asset. You don't call it an expense, you call it a loss if you get rid of it and you did not receive enough cash as far as the book value is concerned. Okay? Where are losses reported? Losses on disposal are reported in other expenses and losses section of the income statement. This is where we report the loss in a section called other expenses and losses. Let's look at different scenarios. So to determine if we have a gain or a loss, here's what we have to do. Compare the book value with the proceeds. Simply put, here's what you do. You look at the book value. Let me put the proceeds first. You look at the proceeds and you compare that to the book value. Okay. The proceeds is simply, let's make it simple, the cash that you received. Let's assume the book value for an asset is 10,000. And what's the book value? It's the cost minus accumulated depreciation. And that's why we need to have accumulated depreciation up to date to make sure the book value equal to is current. So if we got 10,000 for something that's worth 10,000, we have no gain, no loss. If the book value is 10,000 and we received 12,000, we have a gain of 2,000. If the book value is 10 and we only received 8, we have a loss of 2,000. Simply put, if the proceeds are greater than the book value, we have a gain. If the proceeds are less than the book value, we have a loss. Let's take a look at an example. On July 1st, Wright Company sells office furniture for 16,000 cash. Therefore, we can start by debiting cash 16,000 to start the journal entry, right? Because we received cash of 16,000. The office furniture originally cost 60,000, so we're gonna debit cash 16. We're gonna credit furniture because we got rid of it as its original cost. As of January 1st, it has accumulated depreciation of 41. Now hold on a second. This is as of January 1st, but they sold the asset July 1st. They sold the asset July 1st, so we have to be very careful. It means we don't have the depreciation fully. Depreciation for the first 6 months is 8,000. Okay, they told us the depreciation. Therefore, if we take 41 plus 8, so they gave us the amount. So accumulated depreciation is 49. Therefore, I need to debit accumulated, because they just told me that that's the case. But before I debit accumulated depreciation, I have to debit depreciation expense 8,000, credit accumulated depreciation 8,000 to make sure my depreciation is up to date. Now I have 49,000. Now I debit accumulated depreciation 49,000 to remove it. So those two accounts remove the asset. Now, what's my book value? I have an asset that has an original cost of 60 with accumulated depreciation of 49. It's worth 11,000. So the book value is 11,000, and I received 16. Well, guess what? If I received 16, I have a gain. Therefore, I have a gain of 5,000. Gains are a credit. I have a gain of $5,000. Gain is a credit. Gain is like a revenue, but it's not really a revenue. It's incidental to the business. Basically, it happens every once in a while. So let's take a look at the journal entries. First, you book the depreciation. You debit depreciation expense. You credit accumulated depreciation to make sure your depreciation up to date. Then, you debit the cash 16,000. You debit accumulated depreciation 49, and you credit the asset. Those two remove the asset, and that's going to give you an asset that's worth on the books, book value 11,000. And you received 16. You received more proceeds than the book value, $5,000 more. And here's the computation. Therefore, you have a gain of 5,000 on this disposal. You have a gain of 5,000. Now, what happened if you receive less money? Well, assuming the same example, except that you sold it for 9. So the book value equal to 11. You sold it for 9. Guess what? You have a $2,000 loss. Let's book the entry. You debit cash 9,000. You debit accumulated depreciation 49. You debit loss. Losses are like expenses. They take a debit and you credit the equipment. So this, let me just show you. This entry and this entry to remove the asset, debit the cash, and in this situation we have a loss. If you have any questions, any comments, by all means email me or see me in class. If you're studying for your CPA exam, I would say this topic is more covered much more in detail in intermediate accounting. So go to my channel and look at my intermediate accounting lessons about this. Good luck and study hard.